We are live. The man himself is back, refreshed and invigorated after his week on the Costa del Weymouth. Is that right? Is that what it's called?
That's correct. Absolutely, Costa del Weymouth. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And look, I just want to play this music, even if it's just for 20 seconds, because it's kind of a bit of our thing. So if you're new to the show, welcome. My name's Gaven, the host. This is our professional in-house trader, Mr. Andy Demi, and we usually start the show with this.
Yeah.
Press play. That's all you had to do.
Beautiful.
Now, mate, have you started seeing the episodes from season 5 yet?
I haven't. I'll tell you why. I'm actually reviewing all the old ones because my memory's like a fish.
So me and the missus, we're 2 down out of 5. So they've launched 5 now, and then they're releasing another 5 in December, I think it is.
I know.
Weird. It's a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Are they good?
Mate, that's enough. That's enough of this. It's awesome. Just to get you in the mood, it's great. So thanks for everybody being here with us. Let us know how you're doing today. What's going on with you? Obviously, we're in September now, so it won't be long till the clocks go back, and we'll be talking about Christmas. So yeah, back to what's it called? Money Heist. That's what it's called. I totally hear what you're saying about the memory thing, because I was like, I don't remember any of this. Like, it was really weird for the first 10, 15 minutes, but by the time you're into the second episode, it's really good again. So The reason why we play that song is there's no political, there's no kind of religious implications. We have a laugh and a joke because Andy said to me about trading, it's like having a cash point in your living room and being able to legally rob a bank. And obviously, if you know about the show, they rob banks and they give back to the people. So this is kind of like our little take on that. So that's where we are. So you've been away, you've been out of London. How was it?
Interesting. It was okay, mate. Look, this as they say, a change of scenery is as good as as anything, for your mind. And from that point of view, yes, it was a change. Is it my usual holidays? No. And also on top of that, the kids were struggling a little bit, not being in their own beds, not sleeping properly, and all that kind of stuff. So it was challenging, I've got to say. They struggled and they weren't sleeping, so then they were a bit grumpy. But no, it was good to get away. I mean, I think we were kind of talking off air, would I live out of London in those sort of places? I don't think I would. I think if I'm going to leave London, I would go somewhere hot, because the that's the thing, is you've got a beach, but then if you don't have the weather, I mean, we sat on the beach and it was a sandstorm. It was crazy. Literally you couldn't do anything. And the kid, I left the missus on there with the baby, and I just took the kids and we went and sat down, and I chose the restaurant. So there's another story about the restaurants. And I found the only good restaurant because I picked it, obviously. And I do my research. And I just wing it and just go into any old restaurant, as others might do. And and it was great. And so that was a good highlight. Leaving the sandstorm for a nice sea bream, freshly cooked.
Well, leaving the sandstorm with your wife and baby and still in it. That's the critical piece.
She wanted to stay there. It's not my fault. Don't pick on the negatives.
I thought you were being tight and you were like, right, I'm only going to pay for 3 people. So who is it, guys? 2 of you have got to stay on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. We had a budget and we stuck to it.
and before we get into the content, the question on everyone's lips: did you see Fat Willie's Surf Shack? It's not
there, mate.
It's been on my list this week. No,
unfortunately, it's no longer there. But I did find out that my wife used to have one of those T-shirts. So there you go. It must
Not
be
just
more
me.
popular than we realize.
Not just me, mate. Not just me. But look, we're going to crack on with the show because we've got lots coming up. We will be breaking down the biggest FX news of the week. And then from that, we'll be doing some live analysis with a professional trader, Andy Demi, to show you how to start getting used to finding low risk, high probability trading setups. But before we do that, we just want to talk about a little topic before we go into that. And this week, we're going to talk about the video that you did on the beach in Weymouth. It didn't look like a sandstorm then, but it was a really interesting video. And I just want to take a bit more time to go in a little bit deeper, because you were talking about how it's hard for some people. It doesn't have to be hard. People sometimes think it's their destiny to live in a life of struggle, but you're saying, hang on a minute, there are ways, there are certain formulas and things that we can get to. And that's the gist of the video that I got. And I just thought, do you know what? It'll be a really good time now to take that opportunity to just go in a little bit deeper and just chuck in a little few demi nuggets of knowledge bombs, because that was a really good topic that definitely I think we could give more time to.
Yeah, I think I went on a nice run actually, and felt quite refreshed after that. Got my coffee, and I thought I was trying to think of something to share with people that would maybe like resonate, and I kind of thought about myself and the struggles that I went through, especially at the beginning, because the struggles at a later stage, because I kind of said in that video that no matter who you are, there's going to be some form of struggle to get to the next level. But there are different phases. And I think, I guess like the beginning stage is the toughest. And when I say the beginning stage, I just mean the stage where you haven't proven to yourself yet that you can consistently make money. And I mean consistently is the kind of key word, because at that stage is where the biggest doubts are. And that's where you're most at risk about basically not seeing it through. And I guess, for me, it's a shame, so there are people out there that I even know personally that just gave up. And, and I guess, if you really got into trading for the right reasons, and you really want to make this something that you can live by, like live off, but also build a lifestyle around trading, then it's absolutely worth pursuing it and kind of overcoming those obstacles that will inevitably come up. But the biggest obstacle, I think somebody even put it in the comment, is yourself. Because we all have our limits in terms of like how much you can take. The Rocky film is like, how much can you take and keep moving forward, right? If you remember that line in the latest film, it's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. And it's really, trading doesn't need to be that, okay? And that's the point of, getting educated, also, having a mentor and learning and developing and getting help and all those kind of things, because you can speed up that process, but inevitably there will be some setbacks. There will be some things to overcome. And it's about basically making sure that you understand deep inside that you will win at this if you don't stop. And that's the thing. And that's the thing a beginner doesn't have, that somebody more experienced. So if I had, let's say, I don't know, right now, let's say I had the worst year of my life, like I lost a lot of money in the markets, for example, I will have the ability to identify exactly what happened. I will also know that I know how to make money. I know it deep inside me, subconsciously, and that this was an anomaly. And I know that I'll make it back and some. Right. For example, like if something happened to me and I went crazy for some reason for a year and I lost a lot of money, I know deep down that I will make it back. I know it. I believe it. As a beginner, you don't have that. And that's the problem. So for the same experience from a beginner, they don't believe that actually, am I ever going to get my money back? Am I ever going to be able to do this? Am I ever going to master this? And I think I'm here to tell you that you will. No matter what you've experienced, as long as you keep doing the right things and you keep learning from the errors that you've done. And that's the biggest part, is that if you keep making the same errors, then you're not moving forward. So money is just a measurement of your results, right? So you made money, you lost money. That's just kind of like, it's the way you want to kind of look at it. It's like keeping score to identify where you are in your journey. If you're down, you can kind of look at it as part of your tuition. If you're up, then great. But all of that, whether you're up or down, it's history now. And we've all made different types of decisions in the past. Some good, some bad, that have led to, positive and negatives. But every action can be a lesson, and it can help you improve. And I think that's the thing, that if you speak to enough good traders, or successful people in general, whatever they've kind of pursued, most of them will tell you that they've made the most amount of money from their mistakes. And I can honestly say that is the truth for me. I've made the most amount of money because of the errors that I made, because I learned from them. So like, for example, when I blew up an account, I became extremely disciplined. And I didn't have that until that experience. Now, if I had that experience and reacted differently, I would have not become a successful trader. I would have carried on doing the same thing over and over again. So I think, it's more a case of like, maybe you don't have the belief just yet, but I can assure you that you can almost borrow my belief in you, that if you're here, you're listening, you're doing the right things, there's absolutely no way that you don't have the ability to make consistent money from trading. And that's all you need to know.
Sounds great, mate. Sounds great. Just going to check in with a few people. To everybody joining us live, if you're watching the replay on demand, great to have you watching the replay. Glad you're enjoying the show. We've got Tony's back in the house. Hi guys, I'm back. Good to have you with us, Tony. Roy, we've got Roy tuning in, and Monica, and we've got Brucey as well. And if you haven't got the memo yet, just click on the StreamYard link like everyone else has, so that we can see your name and your photo. And we shall crack on with the show. And I think what you said there is really, really useful information if people can actually take it on board, like Dan's saying as well. So we've got Dan tuning in. Wise words, Mr. Andy Demi. Also going to shout out to Anita, who's over this side of the world in Australia. I mean, so many people, I think everybody would kind of admit that they've had a phase, unless they've already made a big ton of wealth, the need to try and make money, and you need it rather than wanting to do it. There's a big difference psychologically from a need. And like, when you meet someone who's really needy and really leechy, everybody's got a family member or a person in their social circle, and it just repels you, and you just kind of like bounce away from them. And it's the same thing with whatever we want to do. It's like that, what you said there, that key sentence of getting into whatever it is that we're going to do for the right reasons. And if you're just too attached to the outcome and you're too desperate for it, then you're just going to take things so personally. You're not going to be able to take any lessons, whatever it is, and you're not going to be able to move forwards, right?
Yeah, exactly that. I think I remember this. I remember this conversation that I had many years ago, like with somebody who, we're talking maybe 10 years ago. So I was a good trader even at that point, like 10 years ago. And I remember kind of saying that, I was just coaching her, and I remember saying to her, you have to trade as if you don't need the money. And she couldn't understand it. She just could not understand that concept. She goes, but like, how can you do that? I do need the money. That was her kind of response. So, and that's why I kind of always say to people, if you can, you know, have a source of income coming from somewhere, because that makes it easy. It's like, if my expenses are paid for every month from somewhere, and I trade then with that freedom, knowing that, look, no matter what happens, you know, I know that my bills are getting paid for, my rent is being paid for, you know, whatever, your food is being paid for. You can now trade from a place of like, well, I'm now going to do this as a game. Whereas, you know, if you're coming from that place of desperation and you're like, I hate my job, I'm going to quit it, and then I'm going to go all in on trading. If you don't have any other source of income, it just adds that extra layer of pressure. Now, some people can handle it. Some people are just kind of wired that way, but most people can't. And so what happens is you start to do desperate things. Like you start to size up a bit. You start to take trades that actually are not even really within the realms of your trading ideas or trading plan, because you're now looking at stocks or FX or cryptos as money. You're not looking at them as like, well, I'm doing something technical here to find an opportunity. I'm looking at them as money, like, and we don't know if they've got money in them. You haven't done the work for it. So it's like you're just opening boxes, but you don't know if there's anything in them. And so ideally, you know, you have some savings that you're willing to kind of use for 12 months. Like if you have enough to live off for the next 12 months, if you're at the stage where you say, look, I've got 12 months to make this work. Otherwise, I'll just go I'll go and get a job. That's okay as well. But the biggest thing is acceptance. And that's the thing that's missing from a lot. It's like, do I accept that I can lose my money here? Do I accept that, you know, I may not make the targets that I need? And if you don't fully really accept them, it's going to be difficult for you to grow your account. And that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest hurdle that people need to overcome. And it can be done. There are ways. You have to position your life so that and put all the blocks together to make sure that you are free to trade. Like, and you can just, you know, because most of the guys that are in our group, that are on our programs, they can do the technical stuff. Some of the stuff I see in our groups is great, like the technical analysis. So they're predicting things, but they may not necessarily be using those predictions to make consistent income, which doesn't really make sense, right? Like to a newbie or to somebody not in the market, it's like saying, well, I can predict everything, but I don't make any money from it. How can that even be possibly explained to somebody? And it's because all the things, they make the mistakes that people make, that oversize because they need the money, and then it doesn't work. I mean, I saw somebody post in the group the other day, but based on one of my videos, they reduced their position size and now they're making money. I can't remember who it was. It might have been somebody, Scott or something. I can't remember who it was, somebody in our group. But that's great, right? Like, that just shows you he's now more relaxed when he takes his trades. And it's like he's doing 1% to 2% per trade, whereas before he was doing a lot more. So now when he takes the trade, it's like, okay, if it wins, it wins. If it loses, it loses. And now because he has that attitude, he's winning. It's like, it's mad. Whereas if he was doing 10% a trade, the same ideas, I can almost guarantee you he would have lost money because it's too much pressure. Oh my God, it's down. And it's like, because you don't want to lose 10% on your account, right? But you're thinking about the 30% that you're going to make. But as soon as it starts to go wrong, you're now panicking and you're freezing and you can't make the right decisions. And that's why, like, you know, keeping your risks small is really, really important if you want to grow your account.
Again, wise words, mate. Dropping the knowledge bombs. Big shout out to Gary, who's in the house. Also, Enika as well. Good to have you with us. She's saying hi, guys. And Nicholas is tuning in live on YouTube. Learning from failures, mistakes is called falling or failing forwards, which is a good point to segue into our next bit. So I just wanted to give that a bit more time to just have that conversation, and hopefully it's resonated with you guys either watching live or on the replay. So with that being said, let's jump in to the start of the technical analysis with our resident professional trader. And as has become the usual now, we'll go into the biggest FX news for this week. From that, we'll then let Andy decide which are the currency pairs that he would kind of be looking at, and then we'll go from there. And hopefully what this will do when you're watching every week, you'll just start to learn via osmosis about some of the things that he does and some of the processes. So with that being said, mate, if you want to take it away, we can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. So we'll have a little look at the high impact news coming out. So we've got some bank holidays today. So if you're from the US or Canada, then today's your bank holiday. Mondays are generally quiet anyway. It's a good time to do your kind of weekly planning. I like to, if I don't get a chance to do it on the weekend, I like to look at my weekly charts on a Monday, just to kind of see how everything closed and what we might get for the rest of the week. Tomorrow we have the rate statement coming out from Australia, which is always a big deal, which will give us an idea of the sentiment towards any sort of future hikes. So that will be at 5:30 UK time. So just kind of be wary of that. And we've got the Bank of Canada rate statement on Wednesday with the monetary policy hearing. And then we have the same thing, the monetary policy statement from Europe on Thursday. So a lot of releases of statements, and statements can be kind of volatile. And we have the ECB press conference again, that can be very, very volatile. We have the Bank of Canada's governor speaking at 5:30, so that will kind of be following on from the rate statement. So we have the rate statement, and then this could also have an impact the next day. And a lot coming out from Canada, and then we've got the employment numbers as well. So that's interesting as well. So there's a lot coming out from Canada. I think Canada, the Canadian dollar can be particularly volatile this week. The most difficult things to trade are statements, but for swing trades, they can also be quite good, because a statement essentially reacts to what is being said. So so let's say you're looking for a swing trade, the market might react and it might fill you, and then it might react the other way with more words being spoken. So that's the thing. Whereas with numbers being released, it's generally one way. Okay, good numbers. So on Friday, good employment numbers will see the Canadian dollar increase in value. Bad numbers will see the Canadian dollar reduce in value. But these statements potentially can be very up and down. But like I said, it can work out in our favor sometimes. So if you're trading a currency pair like the Australian dollar or the Canadian dollar, for example, I would say that these are going to be great for potential swing trades, because you can look for a really good price to buy or sell. You don't necessarily, you can wait for the volatility to kick in, and very often, if you do the right technical work, it can spike you in, and then it can go your way. So, but they do carry more risk, because obviously the statement can go against you. So it's important that we get a good price. You've got a little bit less data on the euro. I quite like the euro in some respects, because it allows, because it's not coming out until Thursday, so there could be an opportunity to kind of front run the news. So be in the position beforehand, lock some profit in, and then see if the news goes your way. That's a safer way of doing it as well. So potentially for the start of the week, we could look at Australia or Canada. And for the middle of the week, where we can enter a position a bit closer to now, we could look at something like the euro. So let's bring the charts in, I think, guys.
So with that being said, as a professional trader, you've obviously highlighted some there, but what springs out to you in your experience? Which pair would you kind of look at first based on that news information?
Yeah, I would probably go. If I was going to choose one, I'd probably start with the euro, because the news isn't coming out until Thursday. It allows us to get into a trade in a safer way, and to potentially lock in a profit before a news announcement, and that way you can kind of have a risk-free trade potentially, so you're not losing any money. And then I'd probably consider some of the others like the Aussie and the CAD. But with that being said, I'm happy to analyze the euro here to see where we stand. Shall I go ahead and do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So we'll take a look at the euro dollar and see where the opportunities are. And I'm going to start here with the monthly, which I showed a little while back, of what was going on with the monthly, and it's actually stayed here exactly what I thought might happen. It hasn't really moved. You can see it's just kind of sideways here. So I'm going to bring in the daily chart, and the other thing as well with this is that often, like especially before a news release, like the markets are in a range, and sometimes we need news to basically help us get out of that range. So if you can get in at a good price, maybe at the bottom of the range or the top of the range before a news event, it can kind of pay off quite nicely. So this is essentially what's happening right now on the euro dollar. So we are bouncing off this support line, and unfortunately we're kind of in the middle right now, which is not really ideal. Ideally you want to kind of see it at the top or the bottom, where you can buy value and then hold it, and then you can kind of see what the market might do. But where we are right now, it's in the middle. So it makes it somewhat trickier, but we'll take a look and see if there's any kind of hidden lines here that might help us. And we'll see if there's an opportunity that we can take advantage of. So I'm just having a look to see where the market is reacting. And, I can already see that this area here does carry with it some good resistance. We've had a good couple of rejections here. So, yeah, like I said, ideally it's not great that it's in the middle here, but I don't think necessarily it wants to break out before a statement. So this could be, the range for the week. So this could be the top of the week. So certainly there with that sort of bearish candle formation there, that shooting star, we could be looking at potentially a pullback here. Similar to this, you know, if you see here, we got a shooting star here, and then the market dropped. And then if you look here, guys, you can see that we also got a couple of shooting stars here, and then the market dropped. So there's certainly some room. I think if we're looking at short term, then, you know, you might want to kind of look at something like this old resistance here as a potential target, which is about 118. So maybe any kind of pullback, you could short it towards here. Let's have a little look at the lower time frames as well, and see if there's anything here that is interesting. That's very interesting. These are the lines that we drew in last time, guys, and you can actually see it's actually come to this line here perfectly, and that's exactly where it has failed. So I do like this. I think there's certainly some room to go to that sort of 118 area there. I think that's a good target. So potentially what we could look for is a Fibonacci pullback. Ideally, something like the 618 would be great. So if we just take our basic Fibonacci tool, and just a little point here, guys, you can see that this is an old resistance point right here. And an old resistance point here, you can see in the past it's quite reactive. This naturally becomes a support point. So right now, even though the market could go lower, it doesn't really make any sense. It's more likely to hold here, right? Because it's an old resistance that becomes a future support point. So I'd expect the market to hold, possibly pull back, and then we could be looking at some kind of reversal, possibly like a double top, where you can take it down to there. So if I kind of draw out the sort of thing that I'm thinking about, and just to sort of, I'll also emphasize something here. So let's just get our pen out just to show you. So old resistance becomes support. So you could be looking at something like that, potentially. We could go for the, we could have a look to see the 200 fib extension down. Let me have a look to see where that comes in, because that could be a good target. Let's have a little look. So where is the 618? I'll just get that out. In fact, I'll just take this blue. I'll take this blue line here, and I'll show you where the 618 is. The 618 is there. That comes in at 118.86. 118.86 potentially, and the 200 target would actually be around here. So if I just highlight these, I'll just change this color as well, make them green, just so you can see. So anywhere kind of in that zone could represent a decent value area to go short and to look for, you know, this is the 200, which is not far off what we said, 118. This is just literally 117.98. So it's pretty much saying the same thing here. And you always want to kind of come out of a round number. Bear in mind, guys, we are in a mini uptrend here. So I do know that, for example, if we just put in our uptrend lines, and that kind of really emphasizes something here. Look, we're actually on a support line here as well. So I don't know if you guys can see it or not clearly, but the auto lines have showed us that this is actually on a support line. So can you see that clearly on your end, Gavin?
Yeah, I can. Maybe if you just, for maybe people that can't quite see as well, if you just zoom in a little bit, they might be able to see it a bit better.
I'll tell you what, I'll just make it a bit thicker.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are the lines that have just been drawn in. So we're basically there. So I'd expect potentially that this market will hold here temporarily, and then eventually probably look to break that that support line there. Now, this could pull back deeper. It could pull back less. Generally speaking, the 618 is good because it's regarded as like the golden ratio. It's like a safe place to enter, and it gives you a decent reward to risk, with a stop above the high. So from that point of view, it's pretty good. So there's a lot of good, interesting things here. Like, looking at, as I said, the daily chart, we've got a nice resistance point. We've got a shooting star, which has worked the last couple of times. On the 4-hour chart, we've actually hit our down market angle line there. You can see it's basically literally reached there we did this on one of the other previous sessions. It's also a week before a rate statement, which typically means that the market's not going to break out before that statement. So any kind of run up is an opportunity to potentially go the other way. Being devil's advocate, the only kind of thing that I do see that is bullish still is that the MACD is not diverging here. The MACD is still converging with that price. However, having said that, a target of there basically is not going to make so a target of there isn't ending the trend. So this is basically reflective of the trend. So you could catch that move down and still be okay. The other option, guys, if you want to play this safer, is to let that market come down to here. So if you don't want to go against that little mini trend, you could put a buy order around this sort of 118. That could be another way of doing it, and you can see if it can hold for a move higher. But just bear in mind, if there is a bearish sentiment to the statement, then the markets can just blow through those levels very quickly. So just have that in the back of your mind. And I think that's it. I don't know if there's any questions.
So just to clarify then, off that, just to be clear for people watching.
Yep.
So what you're saying is that potential short, that could be before the news announcement on Thursday, right? So you would be looking for that before to take you down to that 118 level. And then if there's some positive sentiment, the news comes out in line with or higher than expected, you would expect that trend line to resume. Whereas if the news is bearish more than what was expected, then basically you're just going to be trying to catch a falling knife if you set a buy limit on that trend line, correct?
Yeah, exactly that. I prefer to trade before rather than sort of putting an order in. I'd rather wait. So if I don't, rather than put the order in, I would wait for Thursday, because what we like to do is we also like to use our daily trading range tool, and using the multiple of 1.5, it allows us to really predict where the low might be. So if the news is bad, you could still use that tool to get in at the bottom of the day and then assess it by the end of the day to see if the news was dismissed and priced in, or actually it's made a difference. And you'll see that based on how the market closes. And it's, so you almost can kind of get almost a risk-free trade. I'm careful to say risk-free trade because it's not risk-free, but it's as low risk as you possibly can. And that's the preference. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm just checking in. No questions, which is great. So look, guys, we that's the trade setup of the week. So we're looking at the euro dollar. Major news coming out on Thursday. Can we get a little short trade in beforehand? And then obviously we'll see and take an assessment on where it's looking on the Thursday. If you like that, talking about effects, and you're interested in cryptos, then we're going to be back this time tomorrow talking all things cryptos. And it's been another interesting week in the world of cryptos. So I'm sure we're going to have a pretty good talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, guys, if no one's got any questions, which is great, then we are going to bounce. We'll love you and leave you. We'll see you tomorrow. Is there anything you want to say to everyone before we vamos, mate?
No, not especially. If everybody's good, hopefully that gives you some insight. And even if you don't trade, or if you're trading on a demo account, you just I think it's definitely worth monitoring those news events and seeing how the chosen currency reacts, because it will be good for your learning for the future. So next time you look at a statement, you'll kind of have a better understanding of the impact it has. So even if you don't trade it, I wouldn't kind of ignore it. Have a look and see what's going on. If you can be on your charts even better, you'll see some volatility, you'll see some movement. And if you do have a Squawk service, you can often get to hear the statements, or at least a commentary about the statements, which is very, very educational. So there is, it could be worth, if you have time, it could be worth signing up to a Squawk service.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, look, good luck with that. If you will be trading FX this week, then let us know how it goes for you. And we will see you this time tomorrow to talk all things FX in our show, Crypto Like a Pro, with me, Gavin, the host, and the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Andy Demi. So that's it from us. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, guys. Passeranno, bella ciao,